training the industry and bringing them into NCC training programs. So today it's a second webinar. It's a webinar co-organized by CASTIEL Work Package 3 and Work Package 4, so training and industry, which makes sense. And we will have a first part dedicated to Philippe and Matti from NCC Luxembourg, presenting and explaining us how to drive HPC adoption in startup ecosystems through tailored program. And then we will have NCC Austria with Simon explaining us that a journey begins with a single step in the right direction. What I agree. So, and then feel free to stay to ask your question, to start a discussion. We are happy to share about this subject. So this meeting is recorded, and we will end the recording after the presentation. Thank you. So Matti, I think you wanted to start.
Okay, sure, I can start. Let me share my screen. So Philip is going to go after me. Ali?
It's between both of you. It's up to you which one want to.
Okay, I can start. So yeah.
Both sides of NCC Luxembourg is interesting, but it's up to you.
I need to share my screen. Oh. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to share my screen. Okay, great. It's working. Present slide. Okay, great. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Edulmati Krishnasamy. I'm a postdoctoral researcher from the Luxembourg University. So today I will present the training that we do through EuroCC and NCC Supercomputing Luxembourg. So NCC Supercomputing Luxembourg, that is our name. Can you hear me properly? Is it okay?
There is an echo or somebody.
Yes, yeah.
I will stop it. I think it's okay.
Sure, yeah. Okay, great now. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I will just go through the training that we have organized through EuroCC under this NCC Supercomputing Luxembourg, and then what is our future directions in terms of like HPC training in Luxembourg. So our NCC Luxembourg consists of like three partners: University of Luxembourg and LuxProvide and Lux Innovation. Luxembourg University is a research institute. It's a university. LuxProvide is it's a company located in Luxembourg, but also it's jointly collaborating with this EuroHPC joint undertaking, so on. Lux Innovation is it's also institute from the Luxembourg. They facilitate like startup companies, and then they help research institute to organize these research activities and so on. So what we have been doing so far, because so we've been in part of this EuroCC from the beginning #1 project. Now we are into EuroCC 2. So from the beginning, it's as you know, Luxembourg is a very small country. So we would like to identify what kind of HPC training needs in Luxembourg. What kind of educational HPC gap existing in Luxembourg. So we did initially some kind of like a survey, and then we also did like a lot of interviews with the professional from both academic and also some private institute. So we got some kind of like a basic ideas, like what kind of trainings we could provide in the future. So this was very, very essential before we start to provide the training in Luxembourg. So we also initially organized the boot camp from NVIDIA, so which was also very nice. We got this good exposure among the participants in Luxembourg, both in academic and in private institutes. So since then, we've been organizing like a lot of courses, training in HPC from then onwards. So how we do this training organization in Luxembourg? So basically, people from Luxembourg University, we provide like training instructors, and then we provide the trainings. Lux provided basically they provide this software support and then the hardware support, these kind of things. And Lux Innovation, they mainly involve both like communications and then even promotion services and so on. So without all these three partners, we wouldn't able to achieve our goal in trainings in Luxembourg. So all of these activities are very, very important to organize to successfully complete our trainings in Luxembourg. So these are the trainings that we have done so far. In 2023, we have done this NVIDIA bootcamp, basically focusing on artificial intelligence and machine learning, which is co-organized with NVIDIA. Apart from that, also we have done the trainings in CUDA and OpenMP and OpenACC. So basically, CUDA is a low-level language programming for targeting NVIDIA GPUs, and OpenMP is targeting multi-core CPUs, and OpenACC, it's a high-level programming model, kind of like a directive-based, very similar to OpenMP, targeting GPUs. It could be used for both NVIDIA and AMD GPUs. And this year also we have organized similar courses in CUDA, and with the Python is a new course we have introduced this year. Plus also the same courses which we did like in 2023, so OpenMP as well. So basically we accept around like 20 to 30 participants for each courses, whereas in the NVIDIA bootcamp we had accepted like more than 50 participants because it was huge. We got a huge response from the many participants, and then requested they would like to participate and so on. So we accepted more participants. So this is what it shows, some kind of like a statistical information. What we have done in this bootcamp. So basically, Meluxina provided this hardware and software support, and also NVIDIA provided this training material. We kind of assisted with teaching activities, helping the teaching activities from Luxembourg University. Whereas the other trainings, we don't want to accept like more than 30, something like that, because it would be too much to have like more than 30 participants. So far, our trainings we have organized here only through online, because this is the main. There are some main reasons why we do it like online, because almost all the professional people are very busy with their schedule, with the timelines. So come to the on-site could be sometimes problematic. They might miss this, or they wouldn't be able to participate in the courses. You could also ask us like, why not try this hybrid? Sometimes if you do it hybrid, the quality of the video, sometimes it won't be very nice to those who are attending online. So that is why we would like to, we try to keep it like so far online. Maybe it might change in the future, but we don't know yet. So this is what we've been doing. So the Meluxina is a part of this Euro-HPC joint undertaking. So this is a machine we use for all our training, EuroCC training. So this is a very powerful machine. So this has a lot of powerful CPU cores from AMD CPUs, plus also latest GPU from NVIDIA. It's based on this Ampere architecture. This has like a lot of GPU cores, can provide like a higher throughput in terms of computation. In addition to that, Meluxina also has accelerators, FPGAs. It's also kind of like another accelerator, can support like AI or other numerical computations. Of course, they do also have like large memories. If you want to do some kind of like large simulations, needed like large memory, of course, Meluxina can also accommodate. So you could ask us like how we organize the training. So what is the content? How do you structure the content? What are all the learning outcomes and so on? So to give you an idea, so this is how we organize. For example, in OpenACC, OpenMP, and CUDA programming. So we would like to have like a kind of like structure to distinguish between this architecture, CPU and GPU, so that the participants would understand why they would have to learn this GPU programming. So what is the difference between the CPU and GPU? Of course, then we would begin with these APIs that would help to offload their computation on the GPUs, for example, in OpenACC and OpenMP offloading in CUDA as well. For example, like how this compute construct works and loop works and data classes works, because as most of you know, the data mapping is very important, because when you do this computation from when you migrate the computation from CPU to GPU, we have to offload the data. So that means like we have to transfer the data from CPU to GPU. So to understanding these data classes API from OpenACC and OpenMP offloading is very, very essential in order to offload the computation to the GPUs and so on. Of course, it has to be done like in a very careful way. Between the host and device, plus also there are like other options. It's called like unified memory. That means participants or the developers, researchers, they can just consider two memories as just like a single memory, and then they can avoid like this data transfer. So this is one way to do that. Of course, there are like some advantages and disadvantages, but we would like to teach them all these techniques so they can choose whichever they feel comfortable when they do the computations for their educational or commercial purposes and so on. Finally, we end up the courses with some kind of like iterative solvers or some BLAS operations, like a numerical linear algebra operations, so where they can apply these techniques, GPU programming techniques, and so on. So this is how we organize the courses so far, in order to achieve these good learning outcomes. So far I have just told you like what kind of learning outcomes we could expect from our courses, but also we would like to share with you like how we organize the courses and so on. So as I mentioned here before, we do these online courses, all the courses so far, but during the courses we don't run courses like like the whole day or something like that. We just try to keep the courses in just like a half day, something like between like 4 to 5 hours. Basically, we start the course like let's say like around like 11 o'clock, and then from 11 to 12, it's called like a dry run test, because most of the participants we would expect that like they don't have like prior knowledge in HPC, so that like they have to have some kind of like connection. They have to solve some connection issues or how to use the software from Meluxina and so on. So during this time, they connect to the Meluxina, and they run the test cases. They make sure that like they can use the machine during the practical sessions and so on. So this is what we use this during the time. It's if some participants, if they're like really familiar with these HPC things, like how to connect to the machine, how to use the software from the HPC machine, then they would not need to participate to this session. So that means like basically the course start from like always like from 1 to 5. That means like 4 hours. So first 2 hours we would dedicate for these lectures. So that doesn't mean that like we would go for like the whole 2 hours. We also give a break between the 2 hours. So strictly we try to keep this 45 minutes as a lecture, and then the break, and then afterwards we start again and so on. So this is how we organize the trainings in Luxembourg. The same pattern also continues for the practical session as well. That is also dedicated for like 2 hours. In between 2 hours, we do also a break. So during the practical sessions, as instructor, I go along with the participants. I share my screen from the terminal. I will run the exercises along with them, and also end of the exercises, we also post some questions so that participants, they can work on themselves during these practical sessions. And then if there are some questions, they could ask us, and then we would help them also on during the session. So this is how we do that. So in the right-hand side, you can see the pictures. I'm sorry, it's a very small letters and so on. Sorry for that. But after this presentation, I can share the slide, and then you can take a look at this website. So we provide all the slides before the training starts of the specific course. Plus also, we also publish the practical sessions based on each and every topics that we cover during the lectures. And each and every topic we will introduce with a gentle example, followed by that some questions, so that participants, they can work on themselves to get more experience of the specific topic during the practicals and so on. So we keep this kind of like a format because the programming courses, the trainings, the participants, the more they train themselves, they can get more familiar with this parallel, for example, in parallel programming or programming and things and so on. That is why we keep a very short period of the time, not 1 day or 2 days, because maybe in other courses could be quite interesting, but when it comes to the courses that we have organized so far, we think this is a very efficient in terms of learning. Plus also the participants, they can, if they want to train more, practice more, of course they can use this training material later, because the material will be there online. It's not going to go anywhere, so they can practice later, even after the trainings and so on. So we also published this methodology to the journal, computational journal of computational science and education. So our training methodology is based on this well-known educational methodologies, which are called the D model, and then the Merrill's first principle instructions. So initially, so we have conducted this survey and the interviews. We collected the materials and so on. Based on the information, we come up with the courses, what kind of courses we would like to provide in Luxembourg. And then once we got the courses, we also want to identify the learning outcomes of the specific topics. Based on the learning outcomes, we have organized the training materials and then training contents, plus also practicals and so on. So we organize all the training materials in MKDocs material based on this markdown, which is very simple to use. If someone wants to provide the training and then use our training page, it's easy to adapt. It's not very complicated. There are other training materials, website or layout that people could use, but we thought this could be a very simple to use, so anyone can use. You don't need to spend too much time to learn some new stuff and so on. So we just want to keep it a simple yet very nice layout and so on. So our courses are not only for the people from Luxembourg, especially from the Luxembourg University, but also it's from, if they come from industry, both commercial and government sectors, they can participate. So if we have enough spot, we could also accept other participants from other European countries as well during the training events. So we also provide the slides once our training has been finished. Plus also all the training, the practical exercises will be there in the website as well. So in case if they want to go through the slides, and then if they would like to try the practicals by themselves, they can do that. During the trainings, of course, they're encouraged to use the Meluxina. For example, during the GPU courses, of course, it's a very powerful GPUs. Meluxina, they have it. So I think it's good to use Meluxina for the GPU courses, so that they can have a good experience with the latest NVIDIA GPU architectures and so on. Yeah, so all the materials are located in we have created this the website to host all the materials. As I mentioned to you, my previous slide, it's a MKDocs material with the markdown. So the whole website is dedicated for hosting the training materials, PDF, and then also the practicals and so on. We don't provide any video recordings because we would like to keep, we would like to keep, we would like to have engagement with the audience participants. So if you put the training materials, we would think that video training materials, we would think that we would not get enough participants. Plus also, the materials might change in the future, so therefore we don't want to keep any video recordings, but we would like to keep our PDF and then our practical materials on the website, so that they can try by themselves. But in case if they want to listen instructions, of course they can always look for the next courses. So that we provide courses quite often. We don't provide a very long time. So each and every year, we try to keep same courses 1 or 2 times. So that is what we try to do that. But in the future, I think we will try to do we try to run the courses very frequently, so that if someone misses the courses, of course they can also join the next time as well. So this is the website. I just want to show you how it looks in the website.
Excuse me, Zemati, just to let you know, you have 1 minute left, because to have time enough for discussions and the other speakers.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Thank you so much. So we also continuously monitor our website statistics to make sure that how the participants are engaging with our training site, so that we know where to improve or where not to pay more attention and so on. So for the future, we plan for more courses. So far, we have provided the courses in pure parallel programming, but also in the future, we plan to provide more physics and engineering courses, for example, in quantum espresso, open form, and also some software engineering like Dockers and containers and so on. In addition to that, also we would like to provide more courses in distributed programming, for example, using the MPI message passing interface and so on. So that's all. So thank you so much. If there are any questions, I would be very glad to answer to your all questions. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. I think we're going to listen to Philippe first and then keep the questions. I've seen that people will have questions because I've seen some already in the chat. Yeah. But Philippe, are you ready?
Hello, good afternoon. Yes,
hello.
I'm ready. Yeah, I need to share my screen, but I can start if you want. Are you seeing my screen at the moment?
Yes.
Okay, good. So good afternoon. So am I sharing also your video or not? Or only are you seeing only the presentation?
No, we've seen a picture of a man running through a HPC.
Okay, good. So it's that. Okay, so good afternoon. My name is Philippe Pais, and I'm the Chief Consumer Officer of LuxProvide. So LuxProvide is a company that is responsible for Meluxina. So if you heard the previous presentation, so Meluxina is a supercomputer here in Luxembourg. So basically, Meluxina is part of the Euro-HPC Joint Undertaking network. So it's a petascale, so a mid-range supercomputer, among other ones like the one in Bulgaria or in Greece or in Slovenia or Portugal. And one thing that probably makes sense that we will talk today is about the focus that LuxProvide and Meluxina has towards the startup and SME ecosystem, which I would say probably is different, or it's a different approach from the other supercomputer centers. And why? So because, well, the investment that was made in LuxProvide and in Meluxina, the part that was from the government or the state of Luxembourg, had the goal of boosting innovation, leveraging data and AI and supercomputing among the local ecosystem. So it's part of a strategic investment from the government that is, besides the supercomputer, data centers tier for a fiber connection between across all the country, 5G connectivity, a national sovereign cloud that was put in production last week. So all these investments have the same goal, that is putting Luxembourg as a digital hub among Europe. And for that, of course, you need an infrastructure that can support the needs that come from data and AI. Saying that, so as he'll before me already shared some of, let's say, the characteristics of the platform. So we are talking about an 18 petaflops performance computing. We have around 90,000 CPU cores, 800 GPU accelerators, besides the FPGA and the LLM servers that he mentioned, 20 terabytes of high-speed storage and more than 300 software package pre-installed. And why? Exactly to give, let's say, more usability to the platform to the users that have different needs. So we have a set of softwares installed from numerical simulations even to AI frameworks, and the goal is exactly provide the users with the different options from his needs and with an easy access without basically looking for software to deploy. One of the characteristics that I mentioned before, so we are a supercomputing that is hosted on a data center tier 4, and that is probably one of the big differences between Meluxina and all the supercomputers that we find in the European ecosystem, meaning that a data center tier 4, for the ones that don't know what it is a data center that has all the security, resilient, and redundancy measures to ensure that the platform is up and running without any breach. So meaning that instead of having the platform installed on a normal data center, we have the platform installed on a redundant, secure, and resilient data center to ensure that not only academic and research can use it, but also industry and private sectors that has, I would say, more demand regarding the availability and the security of the platform. So we put it on a data center 4, and is also one of, I would say, that unique propositions that when we discuss with the commercial sector, is that, well, beside all the capacity that you have available to turn your projects, we can provide also data sovereignty within a data center tier 4, so with high availability. And beside that, we, as Lux Provide, we are an ISO 27001 certified company that ensures that we have all the security processes in place. So meaning that if we are covering the needs that come from the industry, we are covering the needs that come from basically all the users. And that, bearing that in mind, so we, like I said, we provide services to different kinds of users. So research and academic, and we work a lot with the University of Luxembourg and all the research institutes. We provide, of course, capacity and platform to EuroHPC, GU, but also, like I was mentioning, we work with the public sector here in Luxembourg and also with business. And business, we cover basically all sizes of companies. So from, like I mentioned in the beginning, startups, SME, big enterprises, and I would say with a special focus on 4 main sectors. So we work a lot with space and defense, well, on the private sector, like you can imagine. Space and defense industry, financial system, and also health tech and healthcare. Why? Because also this is the sectors where we have, I would say, more demand and more strategic investments in our region. So it's not because we like, it's not because it's the only ones, it's because these ones are strategic and are important for the region. We have today more than 600 projects running from all these 3, let's say, access streams, and more than 2,000 users on the platform. So since we are a private entity and we aim to provide services to different kinds of actors and segments, beside the compute capacity or the compute platform, the infrastructure as a service, we also provide platform as a service with, like I was saying before, with different kinds of software packages, but also frameworks already pre-installed. And we also provide consulting for companies that want to onboard and needs specific expertise on specific domains. And that will lead me to basically what we are doing with business. So because we believe from one side that the startups are basically the enterprises of tomorrow, but also are the type of companies that normally need more support, because from one side, financially, sometimes they don't have the stability than a normal enterprise, but also from a talent perspective or a capacity perspective, sometimes they miss all the resources needed to develop data and AI projects. We decided in this case, with one of our main shareholders, that is the Ministry of the Economy, to put in place a program to onboard and helping startup to develop ideas and projects. So we call it the Initiate program. And this program includes several kinds of services, from free accesses to GPU or CPU, also free access to storage, support, and last but not the least, consulting. So meaning that this program is open to any startup that wants, basically, that has a project that want to explore with the supercomputer. So we have let's say a form online where the startup comes. Well, on our site, of course, they go to this form, they explain what is a project, what are their needs, and then we will evaluate the application, and we will come back to the startup saying, okay, well, let's discuss in detail the project. Let's discuss where we can help you. Sometimes, of course, the numbers that we have here are, I would say, indication, because sometimes they don't need so much compute capacity, but they need more storage or they need more consulting. And we try sometimes to, let's say, build a package that can respond to the needs of these idea, to this project. And then we onboard them, we do training, and we start with them experimenting. And like I say, this is, and the name also reveals what is the program that we have in place. Is an experimentation program. So the idea is having up to three months and experimentation, where you bring an idea, you bring a specific project, and you start to use the platform to understand if the platform from one side responds to what you believe are the outputs of the project, but also if all the things that we put in place are the ones that are needed. And because we know also that it's not enough, we create another program that is the goal of the other program is giving continuity of this initial program. And we call it cashback 80%. And basically this program is available for startups, but also for SMEs, so for small and medium enterprises. And the goal of this program is well, it was built under what we call the research and development funding programs that we have at ministry level. And this one was tailored for the usage of Meluxina and to develop data and AI projects. So the process for applying is very simple. So a company or an SME or a startup works with us to define what will be the project. We will work with them with Lux Innovation, which is a innovation agency from the Luxembourg government. And we will define what are the project needs, what is the inputs, what are the expected outputs. So it's a normal RDI application, but more simple, like I was saying. After having the application, we will submit the application. And since our idea is to be agile and helping these companies to very quickly have put hands on zone and starting a project, we have some SLAs with the government where we ensure that after the application, in 4 weeks time frame, the company will have an answer. It will be positive or a negative answer, and if it is a negative, we will explain why, of course. But giving the possibility to start basically immediately with the project. That could be a project between 3 and 36 months, where, like I was saying, and this cashback 80% responds also for the next things. That is, so the company will have 80% reimbursement of the expenses on the project. Meaning, if, let me give you an example, if the estimation of the cost for the project is 100K, they will have a cashback of 80K from the government. This program, like I was saying, is for SMEs, but is also, for example, to give continuity of companies that are starting with the Initiate. So we have some startups at the moment that they start with the Initiate. They realize that the idea or the business case or the project that they had in mind makes totally sense to develop further. So we are now working with them exactly, and some of them already applied and won with the cashback program to get the funding to give continuity of the project and to have in the end an output that is the desirable output from the company. So one thing that probably also, because talking about numbers is important to understand the success of the initiative. So we start with this the Initiate one, the Initiate program in beginning of this year, and so far we already have, and we are talking, so numbers are numbers and they are relative. It depends also of the size of the country, but when we look to the size of the country like Luxembourg, where our startup ecosystem is around 500 companies. So at the moment, we already have more than 30 companies, startups that applied and won the Initiate program. And so we believe that is a successful result when we look to the ecosystem that we have. Because not all the startups, as you can imagine, are focused on data and AI, and even the ones that are focused on don't have supercomputing needs or projects for supercomputing. So between this ecosystem having already 30 startups, and we have a pipeline of additional more 20 that are applying or will be applying for the program. On the cashback, we already have, and because, like I said, this is some kind of a continuity, we already have 3 cashback approval and we have a lot more in pipeline. So with that result, we believe that we are fostering the ecosystem and helping these small companies that didn't have access to a platform like our platform to develop innovation and basically to scale their approach also. I will probably, and do I have more time, or I'm...
Not really. I was writing to you actually. If you could finish, so we could hear also.
So I will give you only 1 or 2 examples of startups that are running with some projects. So this one is a startup that basically they are using Earth observation images to develop use cases for crop management. And they started the project a couple of months ago, and now they are already, on full speed developing the services. We have, and going very quickly, another one that is a startup. Well, a lot of startups that are using satellite images. Another company that is using satellite images here for analytics and to help for cities and well, urban areas to develop and plan green investments to reduce, for example, the heat on the cities. We have another one that is working on space inspection, another one in flood management. So another one that probably this one is another interesting that is using AI for text to speech and speech to text translation for manga movies. And finally, another one that is completely different, a startup that is developing a Gen AI approach for document analysis using LLM models, using and chatbots. And I will probably stop here since I'm already out of time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you again. Very interesting. We could listen for hours. Simon, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready indeed.
Good.
Don't you want the Q&A now or right at the end?
At the end, maybe, please.
At the end, okay.
Want
Then
to
let me
be
just
sure
share the
that we...
screen too. Right, so the topic of my presentation is that a journey begins with a single step, but there's a little caveat to that. And of course, that step has to be in the right direction. And I'm Simeon from EuroCC Austria. I'm from the training task. Unfortunately, my colleague from the industry task could not be present today after all, so I'll be holding this presentation myself. So this presentation is more or less an optimization process. And since I'm also developing trainings in the area of deep learning and delivering these too, I'd like to talk to you about what makes deep learning so interesting in the first place, and what the magic consists of in deep learning is basically this what is called stochastic gradient descent. So there you need to compare your status quo to the optimum, and by measuring this distance you can determine what the loss or the error is that you are facing with your particular model. And then you need to examine the immediate surroundings of this loss function that you get then, and where you find the steepest descent, this is where you need to place your first step to go into the perfect area where you find this minimum for the error. And this is an iterative process. You need to do one step, measure again, assess the situation, go towards the steepest descent, and repeat this again and again. And basically with every small batch that you do that, you lower towards that valley of this loss function. Now, very often stochastic gradient descent is compared to a drunken man on a hill in the fog trying to find his way down the slope, and he just feels around and just stumbles down the hill, zigzagging back and forth, but eventually ending up right at the bottom. Or maybe it's more like me skiing down a mountain slope, as you can see here. But the goal is definitely to find this minimal error. So in our case, we had to decide, okay, what is our status quo as an NCC? We're a pretty large training centers. We've got a lot of courses every year. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but it's around 70 courses probably a year. So the metric that we measured at some point was a declining number of industry participation, especially in the regular course offer that we provide throughout the year. And one of the causes that we found out to be was just the dwindling effect of the Praise 6IP network reach out that we had previously. And we also benefited from that for a few years after Praise 6IP was no longer up and running. So we had to take a correction measure, and that was to tap into the network of our partners. Since we hadn't built up our own network yet, we had to somehow find a network that we could make use of. So then we also decided to offer industry-only courses. Well, first of all, we contacted the Austrian Chamber of Commerce, and they agreed to signpost to our training offer and also the rest of our services. And we even developed courses in collaboration with them on their training platform called Wi-Fi. And we also worked with EIT Manufacturing CLC East together. And after consultation with them, we decided what the best training program would be for their customers that they have. And we also reached out to the digital innovation hubs, and they too agreed to do some signposting for us. However, with the next assessment, the next iteration, the next determining the status quo, we found out that the metric was still declining numbers of industry participation in the regular course offer, as well as, and that was even worse, we had empty courses which were delivered, or near empty courses, which were delivered in cooperation with these networking partners. So the course we decided was basically lacking the know-how of the real market need, and also the problem with EuroCC brand recognition. EuroCC was still a very new project, and it wasn't that well known yet in the Austrian community. So our correction measure in this case was to find incubators or an incubator who really knows their clients and what they need, what they're working with, and thereby slowly building up brand recognition. So the step that we took here was to form and develop a strategic partnership with an incubator, and they open up the doors for us to the startup world. Now, I'm sure you know the startup world. They have, in the startup world, the companies, the young companies have got wacky ideas very often, and that might be a bit further from reality than they actually think. But these are the ideal customers that actually look for guidance and need that particular training that we have on offer. And while they might still be easily distracted by some trends or technologies, we can help them to guide their way through all of that jungle, especially concerning the topic of artificial intelligence. And since they often don't find the talent that they need to really scale up their business, they need to do trainings themselves. So they're the perfect target audience for us. And by cooperating with startups and listening to them and actually really getting to know them also on a person-by-person basis, we also get to know their needs. And one of the things we found out was, especially concerning the whole topic of artificial intelligence, what we are always offer, and that's always the case in conjunction with courses that are also offered for academia, is that we are very much focusing on training machine learning models and not so much on the rest of the whole product portfolio that needs to be there in conjunction with artificial intelligence. So the incubator that we are working with is called INITS, and they've got this fantastic program called A+B. But apart from that, they also have a huge network which we can tap into when we try to disseminate our courses. So they are actually pretty successful. They have incubated more than 300 startups, although I have to say this statistic about the 300 startups is not entirely up to date. It's from 2020. But you can see the areas, the backgrounds that these startups come from. And as you can imagine, AI and also HPC, or the connection of the two, is very interesting to these domains. Now, the startups that they found incubate, I should say, they've got a high survivability rate. That's more than 80% after 7 years. And it's actually also just above 87% after 5 years. So one of the successes behind that is the A+B Scale-Up program. This is what INITS offers as well. The program hasn't been developed by INITS itself, but they are one of the centers that exist throughout Austria. This is a 1-year program that is designed to nurture the startups that sound promising. And it's made up of these 3 phases. So you've got the pre-incubation phase, then the actual camp that they go through, and then after that, the growth phase. And startups are being led through these 3 phases, and they get a lot of training concerning developing their business plan, finding financing or funding, but also things like fiscal law or data management in these things. And what we decided to do is to get to know these people right from the beginning, right from day one. We show our faces there, and we offer up courses within that A+B program. which means that they need to listen to us, which means that they actually get to know us, and thereby they're able to decide that the content that we deliver is relevant and valuable to them. What we've also discovered is that we really need to shorten the length of our courses, especially for young companies, since they don't have a lot of time on their hands. We try to provide them with workshops around 2 to 3 hours approximately, but really offer something that is tailor-made for them and that they really need. And apart from that, we also pitch our regular course offerings, so they also find their ways into our regular courses. So what is the status quo? Well, that's hard to tell. I would call it a status futurist at the moment. So I would love to see, and we're already seeing the beginning of that, but it's too early to say whether that is a real trend. We're seeing an increasing number of industry participation in our regular course office, and we're seeing full courses that have been delivered in cooperation within it, and that's nice to see. So obviously that seems to be the way to go. So for the time being, so delivering these trainings that are really according to the market needs and not too generic, too academic. And we will increase that training offer that we have within this A+B program slowly but steadily. So at the moment, we will maintain our close partnership within it. That's a very fruitful partnership. And I suggest, or I can recommend, you do the same to find an incubator and really not just let them pitch your offers, but participate in the programs that they have for startups. So thank you. That was my presentation for today. And I'll hand over to Aline.
Thank you, and thank you for your very interesting remarks and advices. I will let actually Marie-Françoise, she wanted to lead the questions. Marie-Françoise, you're still here?
I will just stop the recording.